Okay, we do have a few more sizes for t-shirts. If you got something that's not going to fit you, we have a couple and we might be able to exchange something. All right. So welcome this afternoon. If you haven't met me yet, I am Dr. Victoria Castellanos. I'm the Dean of PCPS. And so we have collaborated here today with the Office of Community-Based Learning to give you an introduction to Tapestry and an introduction to community-based learning this semester. So I'm going to get the show started, and then the Community-Based Learning Office will take over. And we have a couple students here from PCPS to also share with you some of their experiences with community-based learning. I promise that we'll get you out of here by 1:45, so you don't need to be stressed about getting to your next class. So Tapestry is the four-year professional development program in PCPS. And Tapestry was developed by the faculty in PCPS to both help our students learn what it means to be professional and what it means to be a professional in their discipline, and also to have experiences during your time here, both those that are required for your program and community-based learning experiences, to help you learn and consider what it means to become men and women for and with others. We also, our goal is for you, when you leave here, to be able to have some ideas in your mind about what it means to have been educated at a Jesuit university in your profession, and how does that translate to your role as a future professional. So the faculty in your college, when they were developing the Tapestry program, came up with 4 different sort of Latin phrases that they feel are things that they want you to get out of Tapestry. Now, when you're at a Jesuit university, there's a lot of Latin thrown around. So some of these you may have heard before, and I'm sure you're going to hear most of these again during your 4 years here. The first one is Magis. And so the first year program for Tapestry is titled Magis. So the concept of Magis is to sort of go beyond what is expected. Magis is the more, and so to kind of go beyond what is expected of you. The second Latin phrase that the faculty in PCPS wanted our students to become familiar with is discernment. So discernment is a quiet reflection. It's how people think through issues and consider, make decisions and consider how, what they're going to do with their life and what things mean to them. So during your CBL experiences, you will, and hopefully during your other fieldwork experiences, you will have many opportunities for discernment. The next one is contemplatio ad amorem, which translates to love manifests itself in deeds rather than words. So part of what we want to accomplish, again, in your fieldwork and in your community-based learning, is for you to have a chance to demonstrate and grow in your love for others, and to show that through your actions. And the last one is cura personalis, which is translated to sort of love of the whole person, or concern, caring for, or concern for the individual person. So it's really getting to know people on an individual level and meeting them where they are and caring for them where they are. So I hope that for all of you during your community-based learning experiences and during your required field work, you will have the opportunity to get to know people on an individual basis and really connect with them where they are and understand what your role is as a future professional in helping them from where they are and where they need to be. So there's 2 parts of Tapestry. One part are activities that you're going to complete within your department, and they're going to have a series of professional development activities for you to go through during your 4 years. Again, to learn about what it means to be a professional in your discipline. And the other part of Tapestry is community-based learning. So that's what we're going to do this semester in Tapestry, is we're going to sort of introduce you to community-based learning at the university and within PCPS. And so you should all have a handout today. So this is kind of what we're going to go through this semester. So this is on a handout. It's also on the Tapestry Desire to Learn or Brightspace site, which I'll show you in a minute. So the first item on this list is what we're doing right now, which is the opening session for Tapestry and an introduction to community-based learning. The next thing that you'll need to do during your term, during the spring term, is you're going to have to register and attend one CBL talk. So the Office of Community-Based Learning will kind of go through what the options are. They're on the back page of your handout. So the dates, the times, where they are, and you'll be able to use that QR code to actually register for one of those talks. And each of those talks will have a reflection required after the talk. You only have to go to one. So we have them at different days and times to accommodate people's schedules. Also during the term, you will have to attend one CBL activity. So after this session, we will start sending out weekly lists of potential activities. So sometime during the semester, you need to find one of those and register for it and participate. So you can do that with your friends. In fact, I'd recommend that. You can find one that you can all do together. In order to show that you've actually participated in your activity, we're going to ask you to take a selfie of yourself with the person that's leading the activity and post the selfie to Brightspace. So that will be sort of your proof of having attended. And then there's going to be a Tapestry closing event. It'll be a lot like this. We'll have lunch provided, and we'll ask you to also bring that picture. The room will be set up a little different, so we'll be working in groups to bring that picture of yourself during the CBL activity, and there'll be some discussion with the folks at your table. And the very last requirement then the term will be that you'll have to write a reflection and upload it to the Brightspace page. So we're going to lead you through this sequentially. I don't expect you to remember all this now. But I just want to kind of give you a preview of what's to come this term. So again, this is what's on the back of your handout. So these are the 3 CBL talks. You're going to learn more about each of these today, so you can figure out kind of which one might appeal to you the most. And then there's some examples of the kinds of CBL activities that you will have the option of participating in. So again, you just have to participate in one of those during the term, and you'll take a selfie of yourself at the activity to upload to Brightspace. So again, this is all managed through a Brightspace site, PCPS 102 Tapestry. At this point, you should all be in this site. If you're not, I would ask you to talk to one of us, and we'll make sure that you get added. And so there are going to be drop boxes for the reflections. There'll be drop boxes for the selfies. We'll send you reminders from this Tapestry website. So we'll be coordinating the whole Tapestry program this spring through this website. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, so I'm going to turn the program over to the Office of Community-Based Learning. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Featherman. I'm the Community-Based Learning Faculty Coordinator. I also am a professor within PCPS, and I'm the Program Director for our Health Promotion Program. So some of you I'm sure I'll see again in the classroom, and I'm really looking forward to that. We also have 2 other people in the Community-Based Learning Office, and they will introduce themselves as they have their opportunity to talk to you today. I've been at the university since 2006, and I can say I've been involved in community-based learning since that time when it first was adopted by our college to offer community-based learning in our courses. So I have a lot of great experiences, and the first thing we're going to start with is just what is community-based learning? What is the definition? And this is what the University of Scranton this is our definition. So it's an academic experience that involves students working with individuals, groups, or organizations in ways structured to meet community-defined needs. So I want you to look at some of these keywords as we go through the next slide because I wanted to give you some examples today. What does that mean? What does that look like? And so you're going to get your freshman experience. And as you progress in your major, you're going to get some other experiences. And I just thought it would maybe bring to life a little bit what those are. So here are some examples throughout PCPS. I don't have every major here, but we have some. So if you'll notice, counseling students, for example, have provided career and vocation counseling in K through 12 schools. Education focused on literacy lessons for local groups. Health promotion students assessed health literacy, environment, and the readability of publications with the Autism Center of Excellence. So health literacy is just people being able to read health information, understand it, and use it to pursue their health goals. Kinesiology students partner with JCC of Scranton to develop and monitor individualized exercise programs to improve fitness. So cardiorespiratory fitness, musculoskeletal endurance, all those things that students learn in the classroom. Occupational therapy students address accessibility in local neighborhoods such as walkability and disability access. So being able to walk, be able to transport where they need to go to live their lives. Physical therapy students work to provide health and wellness fairs for the local Congolese and Bhutanese refugee communities. So you can see in that the red is really that community-defined need, and that's what's so important. You're learning awesome knowledge and skills in your classrooms and throughout your academic programs, and we're able to meet community-defined needs with that. If you're just learning it in the classroom and never go out and experience applying it, you can struggle with really understanding what it means to be men and women for others and to serve different populations. So why are we doing CBL? Dr. Castellanos really explained that well, but it's part of our Jesuit and Catholic mission, and I'm sure that's one reason why you chose to come to the University of Scranton. And regardless of what your faith is, community-based learning is profoundly human and universal. We're seeking the common good in what we're learning to do here at the university. And so we're really helping to prepare students who understand what those common challenges are wherever humans are, identify those problems that are built into the systems that we have, and to develop a commitment to their communities, especially those who live in work in poverty, illness, inequality, hopelessness, and other social disparities. So part of this is really also tied to Ignatian pedagogy, and pedagogy is just a way of teaching. And so it encourages us as faculty at the University of Scranton to educate the whole person, to care about where the person is in terms of not in the classroom, how they develop as a person, what their identity is. And in doing so, it results in a person who exhibits precision of thought, eloquence of speech, moral excellence, and social responsibility. So community-based learning is really putting in action that way of teaching. And so it's, if you look at the diagram there, a big part of it is the context, is putting you in a context of understanding others, where they're at, what their perspectives are, their common issues, experiencing it, taking action through learning your knowledge and your skills in academic sense, and then reflecting upon it and making a difference. So community-based learning, it's really a way in which to help you transform as a professional, to develop as a professional, develop as a person in terms of the person that you want to be. I know for me in my freshman year in college, I came from a small town in Ohio. Hogs and corn is what I would always say to everybody. And it was a time for me to understand who I was as a person, to have some spiritual sense about me, and to keep my heart open and my mind open. So I really did feel like I transformed as a person. And I'm sure you guys are dealing with some of those things in your life as well. So St. Ignatius had a spiritual conversion, and really he changed his way of life and his heart. So he wanted to focus and share that with others. And so when I first came here to the University of Scranton, I knew I wanted to teach. I knew that I wanted to serve others, and I knew that I was interested in research. And so I would describe to people, this is what I want to do and why I want to be a professor. But as I've been involved in community-based learning, it's really transformed me as a professor. And I will say things more like, it's because I want to make a difference with students. I want to make a difference with my research to those people that can be served, with ever any health issue that they have. So I've transformed as a person, and now I will say that I'm a community engaged scholar who partners with students and community to face today's problems to promote intellectual truths and human dignity and meaning in everyone's life. So it's transformed me just to be involved in it as a professor here at the university. So what I wanted to do now is we have a video that's a quick little video that from our president.
A Jesuit education is not just something that you experience during your 4 years on this campus. It is something that will carry you through the rest of your life and help you to uncover meaning in all kinds of places.
When I came to the university, I had no idea what Jesuit values or ideals were. Once I had my first theology class and I learned about the Jesuit tradition and the Jesuit ideals, it became very important, and it was exciting to learn about that.
For me, the Jesuit education was all about being well-rounded in so many subjects, and that's what made me figure out who I was and what I wanted to do.
There are people who are willing to make sacrifices.
Lending that hand to those who need it most.
There's kindness here. It's amazing.
Jesuits are always fostering that buzzword, the Machis, always do more.
To go out into the world, to set the world on fire.
You can't rest with what you've got. We're going to push you and sharpen your edge.
The ideals and values that they uphold have now become a part of what I uphold, and I can't wait to share that in the real world.
It will keep you grounded in the truth and focused on others, and always ready to go deeper, to live a life that's truly worth living, and one of which St. Ignatius and all the Jesuits would be proud.
Okay. Next, I'd like to invite Jeremy Dickinson, a junior in nursing, to come up and just share some thoughts about community-based learning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Dickinson. I'm a junior nursing major from Hyde Park, New York, and I'm also involved in student government and Leva Arts Company on campus. Today, I'm going to be speaking about my CBL experience and how it has impacted my time and my journey at Scranton. My CBL experience has enhanced my understanding of being a person for and with others, and also it has given me Jesuit values that I can use in my nursing career. During my CBL experience, I was a volunteer for the Center for Service and Social Justice for the We Care program, where I prepared meals and made cards for those in need. And I actually got to deliver those meals and cards to locations in the local Scranton area for low-income housing developments. And I was able to work with my peers to reach a common goal. And I was able to give back to my community and pay it forward. And it was really a rewarding experience. I was able to utilize the Jesuit value of cura personalis because I was able to deliver the food and cards to them and see the direct impact that it made on them. And I was able to see the difference I was making. I was also able to see them for their entire person, not just for the circumstance or the challenges that they were going through. It's also prepared me for my career in nursing because I'm going to be working with patients that are going through hardships, and I can see them for their entire person, not just their condition or their illness, but I can see who they are as a person and what really makes up who they are. It's provided me with compassion and support with others. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabrielle. I'm a senior occupational therapy major. Some things I'm involved with on campus: I'm a member of our Scranton's a cappella group, as well as the president of our Student Occupational Therapy Association. So right now you probably don't know the value of just how important your community-based learning is. But now that I'm a senior, I'm gonna cry. But sitting back and reflecting on what I've done in the past 4 years with all of my community-based learning, I'm sitting here and realizing just how valuable it is. So one of my favorite community-based learning projects that I've done was for my pediatrics class, and we had to find a child that we knew that had a disability and create an adaptive toy for them. So my mom is a special ed teacher, so I asked her, what one of your students needs the most help? And she said, there's this little girl named Mia, and she has ADHD, and she cannot sit at her desk at all. So we had just learned a bunch of things about sensory play and a ton of other things that I'm not going to bore you with. But I made a sensory pizza for her. So I went out and I knew she loved sparkles. So I bought little sparkle paper and some Velcro, and I built this little pizza that was also a sensory toy. And at the end of your CBL, you'll see that you have an effect on people. And I will never forget when I handed her that pizza. She got so excited. And that really has an impact on her, even though she's only, I think she was 4 or 5 years old. It's really easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when you are sitting in your classroom and learning. But what CBL does is it forces you to kind of take a step back and look at the people in your community and look at the needs and look at a person as a whole and their individual needs. And then you're going to say, what can I do as a person with my knowledge base and as a person of God? And how can I help them? Essentially, CBL is taking what you learn in the classroom and connecting that to real life. And in the process, you're adding value to someone else's life and your own. So one of my favorite Jesuit principles, and you guys are going to never stop hearing about the Jesuit principles, is being men and women for and with others. And as people who are aspiring to go into the helping professions, healthcare professions, or future professionals, that is something you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. Another one of my favorite Jesuit principles, and you've heard it so much today already, is the idea of cura personalis. From the moment I stepped on campus, cura personalis has been this idea that's always been in the back of my mind, but you hear it in bits and pieces, and then when you really think about it, that's when it makes sense. Cura personalis, care of the whole person, mind, body, spirit. You need to do that for every single person you meet and for yourself. And that is one of the things that I learned later on in my college career. You have to be taking care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit, just as much as you take care of any of your other patients or clients. And the thing that I realized the most about these Jesuit ideals and the Jesuit mission is that you guys are so lucky to be learning this so early in your life, because not everybody thinks like this. When you go on your field work, when you go on your clinicals, you're going to come in with such a unique mindset of taking care of the whole person, of dedicating your life to the care of other people, being men and women for others. And not everybody thinks like that. So you're going to come in with this unique mindset. And I think that is exactly what separates pre-professional people from being good to being great. So I hope I inspired you a little bit to get excited about your CBLs. It is really such a great experience, and I really would do it all over again if I could. Thank you.
Oops, didn't want to do that. How do I get out of this? Do you guys know? I just have one other slide I want to share with you. I want to say thank you to Jeremy and Gabrielle for coming up and giving you some insight from a student's perspective. Appreciate that. I don't know. Not up there. That's good. Just right there. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
It's okay. You're going to hold the bottle for this. I know. It's very different. Okay. All right. One of the first things when we engage in community-based work, we want to seek to listen and to open our hearts and minds to others. So it's important for us to understand community. And so one thing to get you to think about this is for you to share with your neighbor something that's important about a community that's meaningful to you. It could be Scranton, or it might be your hometown if it's Scranton, or it could be your hometown if you're not local. So take a minute, think of something important about a community that's meaningful to you. To me, it was talking about the agriculture in my community when I first went to college. So go ahead and take a couple minutes to do that.
Okay, so sorry we're doing that briefly. And I'm a new person, but I'll introduce myself briefly and then I'll just go pick up where Deborah left off. So my name is Carolyn Bonacci. I'm the Community and Civic Engagement Coordinator here at the University of Scranton, and I'm a part of the Office of Community-Based Learning. And it's really cool to see everyone in PCPS in their first year all in one room. Just wanted to say like how much I enjoyed like looking around the room and seeing you all jump over each other for t-shirts and socks. So it's just nice to see people be excited and be together. So with this, it's important, I think, to remember that each community that you're a part of throughout your life, that you'll notice that there's something that really resonates with you or that you find meaning in. And it's important wherever you are to try and look for that around you. And so I'm going to just share a little bit about the Scranton context for community-based learning, because while you're here at the University of Scranton, it's definitely our hope that you don't just live on campus, but that you also see yourself as a member of the Scranton community. I'm originally from Scranton. I left and lived in lots of other cities and have boomeranged back home because I think it's just a wonderful place to be. As you've probably noticed, I mean, you're at least one semester in now, so you have a slight handle, I hope, on the area. That is beautiful here. That I think northeastern Pennsylvania is a beautiful place. It has a lot to offer. Scranton is a mid-sized city. It was originally, before it was colonized, the home of the Lenape, the Munsee, the Shawnee, and the Susquehannocks. And then, as you may know, Pennsylvania is one of like the, original places of colonization, a large part of the formation of our nation as we know it today. It was a big city in the Industrial Revolution, and it has gotten smaller since then. Right now, there's just over 75,000 people that live in Scranton, but regionally, we have almost 600,000 people in the greater Scranton region, which is very drivable and not that far. So there's a lot of people here, but I think you'll notice that it's just a nice sized city. It's not too big, it's not too small. Like any city that you may go to live in or visit throughout your lives, Scranton has a lot of challenges and it has a lot of opportunities. It definitely has a rich history, from it's an indigenous history through the story of it becoming a colonized city, growing during the Industrial Revolution, playing a really major role in coal and the garment industry. It has a lot of stories and a lot of richness to it. As like a sidebar, if you're interested in learning more about Scranton, the university is currently engaged in a project called Scranton Story, Our Nation's Story. So if you Google that, you can learn a lot about maybe some of the more undertold parts of our story. It's always been a real destination for immigrants to come to Scranton because of its proximity to other large cities in the Northeast and because of the opportunities it offers. Because it's not so big, it has a lot of opportunities for families to grow here because of the industry that really brought a lot of immigration in many waves, and it still does today. My dad actually immigrated here from Italy because he came like they needed work, they needed something to do, and he was a part of the garment industry. So this diversity is not just the traditional European immigrants. We have immigrants from all over the world that come to Scranton, people looking to make a life here. In our school district, there's over 54 languages spoken, and we have students from over 60 countries. And their stories all have similar themes, but also a beautiful uniqueness and diversity to them that adds to the richness of our city. Another thing you're going to notice while you're in Scranton is that we really are a caring community and a community that wants to work on our social issues to make life better for everybody here. So we have over 120 nonprofit agencies in Scranton that work to address community needs, and you'll be partnering with lots of them during your community-based learning projects. And that's what's really exciting about CBL, is that you're not just learning something in the classroom, you're able to take your own skills and knowledge and expertise and bring it to a community to address the needs and to learn from the people in community. So you can gain some insights that might shape who you are as a professional and as a person. The other thing about Scranton that's a challenge is that 75% of the students in our school district are from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Many of the people in the area still don't earn a living wage. We sort of lag behind the state and nation in that respect. And that presents obvious challenges for people who come from socioeconomic disadvantaged places. It impacts their whole lives. So while you're here again, you're a member of the Scranton community, and we hope that you can engage with Scranton in a spirit of learning and mutuality where you can learn from the community and you can bring your own richness of experience and knowledge to our community. And so with that in mind, to learn about Scranton, as a part of your tapestry program, Dean Castellanos mentioned that you'll be attending a CBL talk. So a community-based learning talk is a way for you to learn about Scranton, to get information and insights about some of the challenges and opportunities in the region and how you can be a part of positive change. We created these during the pandemic because it was hard for people to get into places in Scranton. And then what we learned is that they're great to take out of the pandemic because it's a nice way to take a deep dive into some facet of our community here in Scranton. So this spring, we're going to offer 3 talks, 1 per month, starting in February, and you're required to attend 1. The talk is only an hour long. We'll have a guest speaker that will share something on different topics that I'm going to go over in a minute. And then afterwards, there's plenty of time for questions and answers. So if you want to learn more about an issue or more about what was shared, you definitely have an opportunity for engagement. It's not just someone lecturing at you for the hour. And so with that in mind, we really, while I'm going over them, you can think about it, but we're going to encourage you today to take a moment and register on your handout. You have a QR code on the back where you can register so you could pick your talk. It's a good idea to put it on your calendar now. They're all at different times. I'll share a little bit about each one so you can help choose what's most relevant to your interests and maybe even some courses that you're taking this semester. So the first one is coming up in 2 weeks on Thursday, February 9th at 6 o'clock. Again, this will be an hour long. It's in Moskowitz here in Naples, and it's going to feature guest speaker Glynis Johns. Glynis Johns is the founder and CEO of a local nonprofit called the Black Scranton Project. It's a local history and heritage initiative. And during this talk, Glynis is going to share some of her research into the Black history of Scranton, in particular, looking at housing in our downtown along Adams Avenue, which many of you probably walked along because it's just 2 blocks away. And talk about some of the issues in redevelopment and forced resettlement. The themes that will be explored will be around Blackness, housing, racial discrimination, and affordability, the issues that happened at the time of this forced relocation and the issues that are still relevant today. On Thursday, March 23rd, so the next month, well, 2 months from now talk. At 11:45, same thing like this, lunchtime event in this very room. We're going to have a talk on environmental health. So this will be relevant to so many of your disciplines and fields. The guest speaker will be Tanya Verkis. She's the executive director for Physicians for Social Responsibility of Pennsylvania, which is a really interesting organization that looks at not just what you do as a healthcare professional, but looks beyond just regular causes at different factors that might impact the people you're going to serve. So this talk on environmental health in particular is going to look at the factors such as your environmental quality, the different things that happen in your area, and how they have impact on your health outcomes, and how other existing socioeconomic disparities are exacerbated by the environmental factors and play into this. So this is like phenomenal tie-in, I'm sure, for many of you in terms of what you're learning about now. And then the last talk, the bringing up at the end in April, on Friday, April 14th at 3 o'clock in Moskowitz, same building here. We're going to have two guest speakers. Julie Schumacher-Cohen, who you're going to meet in a minute, from the Office of Community-Based Learning, but she's also the AVP for Community Engagement and Government Affairs and spearheads a project called the Living Wage Report that is updated every 3 years. And this looks at what a living wage is in our region and also explores recommendations related to this in terms of public policy solutions and community impact. And she'll be joined by Megan Loftus, who's the president and CEO of Friends of the Poor Scranton, which is a local nonprofit that focuses on poverty and food insecurity in the region. Megan's also an alumna of the University of Scranton, so she'll be speaking about some of her Scranton experiences. And this is a really interesting report. You can find it online. And definitely you could see ways in which the lack of a living wage for so many people in our region has impacts on the types of things you're going to be working to address in your careers. How their health outcomes are, what it means to live your life, what challenges it might present. So I'm going to pause and give you a moment if you want to register. That way you say you had time to do it. Okay, I saw lots of scanning, and that's good. And you can keep scanning while I'm talking. But I have two interactive components. One is registering, and the other one is this pair and share. And this one, you have an index card when you came in. And the reason we asked you to take an index card is because we're really interested in what you're going to say in response to this, and would love to compile your responses. So when you leave, you're going to take your index card with whatever you write on it, and you can leave it on the table outside. And so what I'd like you to write down now is, totally interested in this, especially as a Scrantonian, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Scranton or the Scranton community? So just quickly, like one word, write it down, and then tell your partner next to you. Okay. So I'm gonna stop you there, even though I know you're just sharing, but I did watch you write down words, so I know you have one. We're just curious to see what you might think about Scranton, and then maybe how that might adapt and change after your community-based learning experiences this semester. So I'm going to stop now and invite my colleague Julia up to share more.
Okay, so my name is Julie Schumacher-Cohen, and Carolyn already introduced me. So I'm part of the CBL office and do work in community engagement and government affairs. And I'm just going to have a few more minutes that we're going to talk about some ways of thinking about sort of preparing yourself to do community-based learning. First of all, I want to say I love community-based learning. It's one of the things that brings me most joy in working here at the university. I get to work with faculty and students and community partners. As an undergraduate student, when I studied abroad, that's when I got exposed to community-based learning. I had a placement. I studied in Jerusalem, and I worked at a Four Homes of Mercy, which was a home for people who had physical, intellectual disabilities. So it provided me with a cross-cultural experience. So I think it's really powerful. So I'm really excited for all of you. And one of the things that I do in my work here is also work a lot with refugee communities. So that's another opportunity that I really get excited about. So things to think about before you go. And I'm going to use some of the Jesuit kind of lingo again that you've heard before, because I think it's helpful for all of us to keep it in mind. So community-based learning is really about solidarity and accompaniment. So when we've talked already about this idea of being in service for, and we want to really focus on the with, especially with others, okay? We're part of the Scranton community. I'm not from here originally. I've been here for about 12 years. I'm from the New York area. I lived in DC, so I lived in bigger cities. And I really love Scranton because you can make a difference here. Not that you can't make a difference in a big city, but we have opportunities because it's a small community to actually sometimes see the impact almost faster sometimes than in larger cities. So that's exciting. But we want to have that attitude and mindset of really walking with our neighbors. As we've mentioned already, we're a Jesuit and Catholic institution. So institutionally, we want to be good neighbors. But as you go out in CBL, you're an ambassador for the university. You know, people know that you are a University of Scranton student. There's certain expectations around that. But again, we want to be learning from as much as we are in a position to sort of teach or give. You're first year students, so you're just starting out. As you heard, CBL progresses. So as you get into your upper class years, you're going to have actually more to offer and more to give in terms of those partnerships. But all the time, and me, myself, we're always in a position to teach, to be learning. So for example, when I work with our refugee neighbors, there is so much that I learn from all the experiences that they've been through, what they share with me, the cultural exchange. There's just so much that you will receive in the process. Dr. Featherman said, be open-minded. You will not have all the answers. I know I don't have all the answers. And the community partners and the placements that you're going to have, we see them as sort of professors outside of the classroom. So it's not the typical experience. You're not going to be in a classroom when you go do a CBL site, but they will be your co-educators. You know, this might sound funny, but we also want to avoid thinking of ourselves as sort of the savior or the fixer. We don't have all the answers, as I've said. We're working with our partners in the community. So we want to be kind of humble as we go out. Not think about it as sort of us versus them, or that we're the server and they're the served, but really that we're in this together. Again, it's a small community. The community is very grateful and appreciates Scranton students who are active in the community. And really, this is a kind of a teamwork approach. So just a little bit more on the Catholic social teaching side. These are some basic tenets, and I'm going to play a very short video that just kind of reinforces some of this, but just again to keep in mind. So very much grounds the human dignity of each person that we're interacting with. And I know some of you are going to be in all of your different vocations. This is an important thing to keep in mind in all of your interactions. Subsidiarity is kind of a funny, fancy term, but basically it just means really listening to people from where they're at, having grassroots connections, so that if there are problems in a organization or problems in a school or problems in a healthcare institution or in a community, you're going to the people to find out what's going on. We're not just going to make top-down decisions. So that's why you do community-based learning. Understand the community, understand what's going on. Economic justice, we're very concerned about needs being met and structural inequities being addressed. The Catholic Church is also, for a very long time, talked about this preferential option for the poor and the vulnerable and the marginalized. And I put down here the Jesuits every few years, they update sort of their priorities the universal apostolic preferences, kind of a big term, but basically it's just their priorities for the next few years. And they're talking here about walking with the excluded. So people who have been marginalized in some way, minoritized, people who have different experiences that are hardships, and we want to understand them. We may have some of our own that connect into them, and we want to have empathy, and we want to think about what are equitable solutions to address these kinds of issues. So I'm going to play, hopefully successfully, just a very short video, and I'm going to cut it short. We're just going to watch the first minute.
Solidarity is based on our common belief that everything was created by God, and so all creatures are related to one another in this one beautiful community called creation.
Solidarity is, first of all, perhaps what it's not. It's more than just a feeling. Solidarity is a commitment for the welfare of the other one. When we see each other as my brother, my sister, wherever they are, regardless of race, nationalities, belief, we are one human family.
It's being able to reach out to someone and for them to know that you truly care about them, that you're touched by their experience and they're touched by yours. It isn't one where we do something for someone, but we do it with them, and then we grow together to be closer.
One of the scripture passages that illustrate for me the principle of solidarity is in St. Paul's image of the body of Christ. When one part of the body suffers, the whole body suffers. When one part of the body rejoices, the whole body rejoices.
Being
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. So that just gives you another sense of what we mean when we talk about solidarity, that connection and that being, again, with our neighbors and understanding where problems are coming from. So 2 more points I want to make is that brings us to the attention to social justice that community-based learning has. So it is an experience that has service aspects to it for sure, but it's also trying to make us aware. So Jesuits are big on social awareness. So seeing the realities of the world around us, seeing the realities of Scranton, of the community that we live in, thinking about the realities of the community that you may have come from if you're not from Scranton. Carolyn talked about some of the challenges, and also the assets of Scranton. So even if we might deal with a lot of the sort of problems or issues in Scranton, this community also has a lot to give in terms of arts and culture, and thinking about keeping all of those things in mind. But I'm encouraging you, you're going to go on this, you're going to have this one service activity this semester. Be attentive while you're there. Think about, why am I here? What's going on here? What am I doing that needs to be addressed? Why is this nonprofit, needing to do this program or activity? So why is this project, what is it and why is it needed? And then the next step is thinking about what are the root causes of injustices or inequalities in our community and how might they be further addressed. And this is something that you might be familiar with. You might do this in a class sometime. We won't go through the whole process, but it's called a problem tree. And so just very quickly, I'll give you an example because it's helpful in sort of breaking it down. So you might think of a symptom, might be a poor health outcome, or maybe a child is having a hard time paying attention in school. So what the problem might be that's been diagnosed is that there's a hunger or food insecurity issue. And as we heard earlier, one that you might be asked to work at the We Care program and provide meals and food, healthy foods for someone in need here in the community. But then you also have to think, what are all the causes of that? It might be low-wage jobs. It might be a single-parent household. It might be somebody who's experiencing homelessness, who's unhoused. There may be mental health or addiction issues. There may be issues around diverse abilities, the environment of where you live. So that's the kind of analytical, kind of critical thinking we want you to have as you go out into your community-based learning experience. And then lastly, another kind of fancy word, but really is actually a very simple idea that we want to have you keep in mind as well, is positionality. So why is this important for CBL and what exactly does it mean? So positionality is just basically who you are. It's the social, political, the community context that creates your identity. And it influences your perspective and your experience of the world. And so, we want you to take a moment. I'm not going to give you a lot of time today to reflect on it, but just kind of carry it with you to consider your own positionality. What are the different identities and communities that have made you who you are, the advantages and the disadvantages that you may have experienced, the challenges and the opportunities that you've experienced, and then keep this in mind as you participate in your CBL experience, because you want to be thinking about, how do I connect into this? Do I what is my experience that relates to this service site or this program that's going on? And it will also help you think about what you want to do in the future and your vocation and how you fit into all of this. So we'll have these reflective experiences that are built in all the way through the CBL talks, through the CBL experience, and at the end. But keep in mind, who are you? What is your identity? And how do you connect in? And how can you be bringing your skills and your talents and your assets and your life into this? Because ultimately, this is really meant to be a very holistic experience, something that is both academic, but also very personal as well. So the last little pair and share is just thinking about participating in CBL this year and in the coming years. What's something you're excited about or something that you have questions about? So again, just turn to your neighbor. I will give you a minute. And I think there might be some other little finale that I'm not privy to yet, but just take a minute to turn to your neighbor. Okay, so that's all I had today. I am not the finale. Grateful for you. That's good for you. There is another component here, some other opportunities. But we want to thank you on behalf of the Office of Community-Based Learning, again, for undertaking this. We look forward to seeing you at the CBL talks. They are all great. You can always go to all three if you have time, but really take advantage of them. And then I will invite Dean Castellanos to close us out.
So I want to thank you all for coming today and thank the CBL office and the folks in the PCPS Dean's office for helping us out. I've invited Assistant Dean Curry and Assistant Dean Schwank and Associate Dean DiMatteo up here to help us throw some more goodies out. Also, please take some food on the way out. Welcome to take it with you. So thank you for coming and have a great term. See you later.